Follow.
Your Excellencies, honorable guests, on behalf of Her Excellency Secretary General Amal Al-Afifi and members of the Executive Committee, I'm pleased to welcome you from Khalifa Award for Education virtual platform. My name is Jamila Sulaiman, Advisor of Research and Studies from Family Development Foundation and member of the Executive Committee at Khalifa Award for Education. And I'm honored to moderate this important session. Based on the directives of Her Highness Sheikha Fatima bint Mubarak, Mother of the Nation, Chairwoman of the General Women's Union, President of the Supreme Council for Motherhood and Childhood, Supreme Chairwoman for the Family Development Foundation, to announce the Emirati Child's Day on 15th of March each year. Today's session is going to shed light on the UAE's efforts in caring for and empowering children through a comprehensive system of laws, legislations, and strategies that ensure an environment that stimulates creativity and enhance the well-being of children at all stages. In addition to that, we will focus on the Khalifa International Award for Early Learning and its role in supporting initiatives and applying best practices to improve childhood care worldwide. Allow me to welcome our guest, Dr. Cairo Arafat, Senior Advisor, Abu Dhabi Early Childhood Authority, Mrs. Fatima Al-Bastaki, member of the awarding committee at the Khalifa International Award for Early Learning, Dr. Bushra Gaddoura, Early Childhood Advisor at Sharjah Private Education Authority. We will start with Dr. Cairo, inshallah. The Emirati Child's Day helps to promote children's understanding of their own rights, which have been secured by the UAE law. What are the unique and significant differences between Federal Law number 3 of 2016, Wadima's Law, and the International Child's Law? And also, when is the right time to educate children about their rights with balance and positivity?
Thank you, Dr. Jamila, and welcome to the other panelists and our guests online. The UAE is fortunate in that it is very progressive. It actually ratified or acceded to the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child in 1997. And then later on signed on to the optional protocols, or one of them at least, on sexual exploitation. But what is important is that the Wadima law followed in 2016. It was based on the horrific death of a young Emirati girl, Wadima, but it served to fortify the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. So if you look at the UN Convention, it has, the basic principles of non-discrimination, best interests of the child's right to life, survival, and development, and in addition, the children's right to participation, having their views heard. But if you look beyond that, in what they did in the Wadima law was to make it very specific as to which entities and how those entities are responsible for enforcing all the different aspects of what are in the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. The UN Rights of the Child, of course, is a little broader because it also talks about children in war and conflict-like states, which is not applicable to currently the UAE, or it talks about children who may be involved in different forms of exploitative child labor outside the country. So we don't have those kind of issues, maybe that within the UAE currently are primary, but it focused on those rights, on health rights, and it focused on education rights, and particularly on social and protection rights. And I think that's the key element that we need to really focus on. It's not a limitation, but that law the Wadima law, or federal law number 3, is also supported by personal status law, because many of the rights of children, custody, what happens during divorce, providing nafaqah or all other expenses, they all have personal status codes. So we need to still work further to align them and to develop that bridge between what are the child's best interests and family rights and interests, because they complement one another. So I think those are where we see the children's law in Abu Dhabi or the UAE has really grown and expanded.
Thank you so much for your valuable input. It's very interesting what you have raised now. And maybe this has to be discussed in a further sessions to be focusing exactly the limitation of the law and what we need. Thank you for highlighting this point. Mrs. Fatima Al-Bastaki, the Khalifa International Award for Early Childhood Learning is a unique initiative to address various aspects that can have direct and indirect impact on raising children. Please, if you can just tell the audience about this international award in highlighting distinguished international practices. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Jamila. I would like to start with that the Khalifa International Award for Early Learning field, which is the first of its kind in the world, includes 2 categories. Number 1 is the category of the best research and studies, and the second one is the category of best programs, curricula, teaching methodologies and practices. The award aims to support the process of advancing childhood and early education, which ranges from birth to age 8. Main goals include enriching the culture of excellence and creativity, and encouraging research and studies, discovering and appreciating advanced programs, methodologies, and teaching practices. And also encouraging distinguished teachers and activating the role of the specialized educational centers, institutions in early childhood. It also honors the best personal experiences, caring about the field of early childhood stakeholders, at the same time paying attention to the people of determination in early childhood. And also it promotes the dissemination of the best studies and the most successful practices and methodologies in the field of early childhood education. The Khalifa International Award for Early Learning sends a clear message that the first 8 years of child's life are an investment in learning and development, and whether it's at home or outside home. These years are critically important. That importance needs to be recognized by the public and the policymakers. These early years are fundamental to improving the lives of our children and families, which will impact our society's development in the long-range term. This is really the most dynamic part of developing educational system around the world. We know as educators and researchers, however, it really has not penetrated yet into the public consciousness the way it needs. It has also not attracted the attention and sustained investment from the policy world, which is desperately needed. The Khalifa International Award for Early Learning aims to highlight the best practices and research so that sustainable changes can be implemented in our educational systems.
Beautiful. As always, there are areas of improvement. I can see that implicitly. You have said them in your contribution. Thank you very much for your valuable input, Dr. Bushra. What is the Khalifa International Award for Early Childhood Learning doing now that needs to be modified, as just to complete what has been raised by Mrs. Fatima, in order to scale up cost-effective and evidence-based ECCE interventions that really transform current practices to tackle future and global challenges.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jamila. And I'm just going to continue, as you said, based on Mrs. Fatima. Truly, the Khalifa International Award for Early Childhood Learning is currently making significant contribution towards improving early childhood education by recognizing and promoting innovative practices and solutions. And we really have to step back and see, this is a part, this was actually one of the recommendations or one of the commitment that all countries have done in order to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal 4.2 by 2030. Yes, the UAE was progressive in developing the Khalifa Award, the International Award for Early, which has made a huge contribution. Not only that, they have also hosted different workshops like what we're doing now, and awareness for teachers and awards and all that. And it's only been for the last 2 years. And that is part of the, as I said, what the governments have signed on, what all the head of states have signed on to approach to advance the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, we need to look at it. What they've been doing now is really, again, I cannot stress enough the huge work and done. But however, we need to look at now, following the Tashkent Declaration, where the World Conference, where the governments, where the states have signed again for another to upload after the 2010 in Moscow, they have signed a commitment and they have committed to advancing and transforming early childhood education, and specifically after COVID and everything that we have. And true to what Ms. Fatima said, this is not an area where is not a priority yet in the area for that. So my look at is we really need to align the Khalifa Award with the themes that follow the Tashkent declarations, which means that early years is a multi-sectoral and multi-dimensional area. And we really need now we have 2 areas. We have the research and we have the pedagogical approach and programs and curricula. So what we really need to do is really focus, what about add more about the well-being, an area, the category for the well-being to the research. If that research is in the category, we have 2 areas where we need to scale that up. The second one, modify it. The second one would be the teachers' practices. So these research and these programs, rather than just following up, we need to really categorize them in a theme that we want them to be in that theme, government multi-sectorial, where we have problems, government multi-sectorial interactions and how they work together, the teachers' workforce, the innovative practices. So these categories have to be categorized now. So if you want to do a research, it has to be under these 4 themes that the Tashkent Declaration have recommended and we've signed on it. The second part is that we also need to look at today, the early childhood education innovative practice is basically really applying the holistically integrated approach. And like Mrs. Fatima said, we really need to have the awareness. It's not about creating innovative practices. It's about finding solutions. So who is doing most of the solutions are the NGOs on the ground, that they are the non-governmental organization that have, like the Arab Network, like the Gulf, Dubai Cares are doing amazing things, Al Ghurair Foundation. You have many, many examples, the ACFAN. These people are doing programs that are finding solutions and they are implementing it on the ground. So we need to cater for these. If this program works in such a short time without having to do the impact analysis and all that, then that would be amazing. The second thing that we need to do, okay, so we are awarding these leaders and researchers, but where do we take it from there? We need to establish partnership with academic institutions or research organizations. And this is to provide opportunity for researchers to engage, how do I say that, collaboratively, in collaborative research project and share their work for a broader audience. It cannot stay only at universities and that. I mean, who does, okay, they've done this research, great, amazing. How can we do a longitudinal study? How can we incorporate it with the academic institutions that publish that? And we can disseminate these research and transform them into longitudinal studies and analyze the impact more. One thing that I really, really stress on, and I will be talking about this later on, would be the partnership with private businesses. Now, the programs and the early intervention that are submitted, if they win and they are fine, good. How do we get it more? How do we get the business to pitch in and develop them further? Because early years is about, you've got the resources, you've got the games, you've got the technology. How can private businesses help to better harness scientific evidence and innovative for transforming early childhood policies, procedures, programs, curriculum? They can offer a lot of expertise, resources. They can financially support to help the award achieve its goal. The award is on the right track. We need to go further. We need to really get further, help, in order to achieve, our main goal is achieve the target 2030 for the Sustainable Development Goals. And the 4.2, the early years, cuts across 8 of the Sustainable Development Goals. It cuts across 8. Greening education is an example where a lot of piloting they are doing all over the world now to green education and talk about climate change in early childhood education. So that is another area where businesses can provide funding for research and development, can support that. I think in another, and I could be, but Mrs. Fatima said that they do give award not only for research, not only for just research and the programs and innovative, but also to give awards for those people for their contribution in their work in the Arab, in the world. For example, in 2006, I was awarded the Khurafi. I haven't done any research, but for my work in the early childhood education, and that has recognized, it gave me recognition. It helped me to support. There was nothing. There was no prize. It was just an award for best act, like you do for best actor, but for these people who are, to recognize them for that, that would help also people to come with practice. Some people don't do research. Some people don't have innovative program, but they are doing a lot to promote and transform early childhood education. They're advocate for children's rights. They are, there is a big innovative now, the Global Child Forum for advancing children's rights in businesses, for example.
Yes.
We'll talk about that more.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Bashra, for the valuable input. And going back to Dr. Cairo, the Abu Dhabi Early Childhood Authority has launched recently many initiatives that address child development and safety. And child safety is a very broad term. Can you tell us or tell the audience briefly about these promising, valuable initiatives, especially child digital safety? Thank you. Your mic is off.
Yeah, I just realized. Yeah. Sorry. So I think that the really important thing about the work of Early Childhood Authority is that it's really very much a mix of what Dr. Bushra was referring to, and what I think all of us, Khalifa Awards and others are looking at, is that we're at a crucial point in time where life and change has happened, and there's a disruption. There was a clear break for where many were able to say, our health systems aren't working, our child protection systems aren't working, our mental health systems aren't working, our education systems aren't delivering on what we want to deliver. And I think that we need to utilize this space to take a step back and say, what changes can be made, and not continue on that path of just following the same gradual thing, a little bit of tweak here, a little tweak there. And this is particularly relevant, I think, for the UAE, because you are a novel state. There's no other place like the UAE. And I mean, America will say that about itself, but, you know, a country that has 180 nationalities, a fluid population going in and out, rapid economic and social growth. There's just so many things that are happening here that there's no one model that's going to be able to be brought from England or from Malaysia or from whatever. But what you do have now is unique brains. You have the children, the youth, the civil society, the government that can be brought to the table to discuss a lot of what we've been discussing. And so this is what we're doing in ECA. We're listening to our stakeholders, and our stakeholders are not just our other partner entities who are very important, but it's also listening to what children have to say, what parents have to say, or what the service providers are saying in order to improve the situation. And what we found is that a lot of them are saying, we need to know more about early childhood development. What is it? Why is it important? They want to be informed decision makers. And that's such a crucial point. It's not someone sitting back and saying, oh, tell us what needs to be done. It's saying, give us the information. And I think the sharing of information it helps us because it makes us want to be evidence-based, which is the research. It helps us because it says we can do new initiatives. We don't have to wait, as Dr. Bush has said, to test something and go. We can do applied research. We can try a new initiative and parallel with it research to see, is it working? It is not working. Where are bottlenecks, and to improve the things. So at ECA, we've piloted quite a few initiatives, but always keeping our eye on going to scale. So when we did like child protection, you were talking safety. We said simply, okay, so what exists already? What exists? What's working? You know, what can we build on? Where are the gaps? And you found that there are many gaps. I mean, and you have to be realistic. You know, if you're dealing with an Emiratis and you're dealing with multiple different ethnic groups and nationalities, how do you provide something that's holistic? So looking at those kind of initiatives, how can we provide in a way that's non-discriminatory, that does give to everyone, but takes into consideration the individual differences of populations? We have a program called Positive Discipline for Everyday Life. We took a simple program and we began to train people and have them go out through their own institutions to say, within the health sector, this is how I want to deliver this program. And this is my target population. And I am particularly comfortable with this group of women doing this because they are part of my clientele. These are the people I'm working with in the health sector. The same with education. And we're saying, well, you know, we want parent engagement. Instead of telling parents, come on, we want to talk about this issue, we're saying, let's work together on how you can be better parents and disciplining your children in a proactive way. We also looked at programs that are looking at how do you stimulate teachers to be better providers in the school system, whether it's in nurseries, in pre-K, in the early years. How can you incorporate better mental health policies and programs for children? How can you make them aware of even the most basic? What are the signs of abuse? So a teacher doesn't feel like, I don't know what to do. They can now look and see, is this abuse? Is this neglect? Is this student absenteeism more than what I might think is just absenteeism? How do I engage with parents? How do I engage with parents who are going through divorce and I'm dealing with their child in the classroom? So it's not just saying schools and academic. It's a place where children are spending 6 to 7 hours. So we have programs that look at child protection, communication awareness raising, that are looking at parenting programs, developing materials. We've developed with the Family Care Authority, DCD policies and programs and systems. So across the board, we're doing multiple different things and touch points. You talked particularly about online, and I'll get that quickly. Online is so important because we would love to say there's one way. You know, here are the guidelines. If your child's 2, don't, show them. There is no black and white. And that's what we need to educate parents on, is that you have to be an involved consumer. Just like you will look to see, I'll give a very simple, we look every day to see, are there new cosmetics out there? Are there new hair products? Do I want to change my shampoo? Which shampoo is better than this? It's similar when we're looking at how we want to look at online materials for our children. You need to look into that program. You need to test it. You need to sit there as a parent and watch and engage with your child, whether they're 2 years old or 10 years old or 18. know what they're doing online. There's no way getting around that. There's no way just putting some sort of block on their device. They're going to get around that device. There's no way of saying they can't watch YouTube or they can't do Instagram. How they're going to, right? So how are you going to educate them to know what is really true, what's not true? How do we engage our children to answer the questions we can't answer as adults? We say to our children, we want you to be proud of who you are and your culture and your identity. Yet we give them very little song or music or entertainment or cultural things online. It's governed by Western media. And then we expect them to know our culture when we're doing very little to teach them language, to teach them the arts, to teach them ثقافتنا. These are all things that we have to look at. So what is online safety? It's parental supervision. It's parental awareness. It's educating our children to be aware of what's online or not.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
And we have guides. If they go to eca.gov.ae, you'll find many, 2 guides at least, that can help you as parents to learn more about this.
Thank you so much. It's also worth mentioning at Family Development Foundation, we have similar programs addressing needs of children at different stages and also addressing the multiple intelligence of students at different stages with a scientific approach and customized to our culture. For that, maybe if like strategic partners, as Dr. Bushra mentioned, that when we address the children, all strategic partners and stakeholders, they should sit in one table and discuss the needs, the area of improvement and limitation, and the future of these services and programs to children. Thank you so much, Dr. Cairo.
Yes.
Dr. Mrs. Fatma, Dr. Fatma, I will tell you. You are a doctor even without having your thesis. Yeah, inshallah. The award can be a useful tool to analyze the gap between international and local practices. And also this has been mentioned in a way or another in today's discussion. What strategies would you plan to implement at the award to benefit and spread the success stories, to learn from them and to benchmark with them and to customize the best stories, even if here or international, to be useful to our situation and needs in UAE?
Yeah. As a member of the judgment panel, our keenness towards meeting all the expected criteria in regards of innovativeness, importance, impact, methodological rigor, and sustainability. These will give us a clear direction to choose the best practices and the best research. The outcomes of the best research and practices of the winners will be published and also could be used as a model for early childhood education around the world. This coming year, we will be having 4 winners who will be selected for the Khalifa International Award for Early Learning Field. There will be 2 winners for the category of the best research and 2 winners for the category of the best program, curricula, methodologies, and practices. 1 representative from each winning team or organization will come to the UAE to be recognized publicly and receive the $50,000 American dollar in cash award. The reason why the Khalifa International Award for Early Learning Field is so important is that it brings a greater international prominence within the UAE and the Arab world, but it's also a global award because it's intended to take the best practices, the best research from around the world, highlight it, bring it to the forefront, and offer it as a global model. So while the award is approaching global and international levels, we will be able to clearly identify the gaps between current practices in early childhood in the United Arab Emirates in comparison or compared to the international expectations. The winning of the best research and the best practices can serve as the new standard for the early childhood programs and policies locally and internationally.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Very interesting. We're looking forward to that, inshallah, soon.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Dr. Bushra, UAE believes in the right to education for all segments of society, including people of determination. We should mention them. We cannot celebrate Child's Day without mentioning people of determination, and they are very close and dear to all of us. What are the initiatives that had been launched to ensure the full integration and engagement of people of determination into the educational system? Just briefly, to make sure that they have been fully addressed with care, as we know, but it's to recognize these efforts now in our celebration of the Emirati Child's Day.
Thank you. Thank you. This is not my, as a strategist, it's not my biggest area of expertise like Dr. Cairo. But before I really do, there are two important things that Dr. Cairo said that I must highlight. And that will apply also to the special need. I am the ambassador for children's rights, yes, but I'm not, in inclusion. The two things that I really need to highlight for Dr. Cairo, and thanks her, is that first of all, they need a needs assessment. And this is very, very important of what is happening. What is happening in UAE is one of our biggest challenges is that we're all working in silos. All the government entities are working in silos. And there are many amazing initiatives in all, not only, but if we're looking at inclusion, you've got the Wadima law that said that the UAE had big impact on adhering, on changing. Every time that they revise the Convention of the Children's Right, it's there, which article that has been, and UAE was a key member of amending and of revising with the world, all that. So, and the Wadima law is actually the one thing that not only, which was introduced in 2016, it does protect the rights and promote the inclusion. It's based on children's rights and the Convention of Children's Rights, which has all of these, the health, the care, all of this, the employment, accessibility, all of that. We need to really look at the SDG 4.2 target. The first one says access to all children. That means poor, rich, boys, girls, disadvantaged, special need, not special needs, all of this. That's the first target by 2030. And the second one is quality and equity. So again, we're talking about all the inspection and all that. Now, the Wadima law, the inclusion initiative, I mean, if you look at the UAE, I had no idea that the UAE offers support, financial support, transportation for the children with special needs and their parents. You've got the Zayed Higher Organization for People with Determination. They provide a range of services for the children, for the people of determination. You've got inclusion in education now, the initiative that they need to aim to provide comprehensive, inclusive education system. You've got the support services where areas they support include for that. You have the higher education. I'm not very familiar with all the services, unfortunately, but I can. But however, we have three major obstacles. The first one is, as I said, we're working in silos. So we have many, you have the child-friendly schools in Sharjah. They have a framework with UNICEF and all that, for example. This is an amazing initiative. But Dubai and Abu Dhabi are doing again another one. Why? You understand what I'm saying? This is a waste of resources and waste of... Now, we also have difference in terminology. And that affects the funding. It affects the policies. For example, you've got people of determination in Dubai. You've got special needs people in Sharjah. You've got in Fujairah. I don't know. So there are no yet in the policies a terminology that is unified, and this has children's right have to come from the federal, and every single authority, every single person has to be, has to follow. It has to, we should have a national conversation with all the decision maker on what is inclusion, how can we approach it, what are the goals that we're going to do. The third challenge is, like and I'm very happy to hear what Dr. Cairo has said, the way they are training, the way we are doing intervention now is actually, the new one is a pack delivery, where you train media, health, all of these people. Overall, you build the capacity. You don't build, you don't train, you build the capacity, and then they go, so you do a training of trainers, and then they go and why? Because we don't have anymore before we used to have platforms, you do an intervention in the school, you do it there, you do an intervention with the teacher, you do it there, and you involve a couple of stakeholders. Today, these are all merged. We don't have a defined platform to do the inclusion. So that model of capacity building is the one that we should follow. So we have the terminology, as I said, the working together. We should have a national honest conversation about that. And we should, another thing is that, okay, yes, we are doing inclusion, but what about the teachers? Do we have enough? This is what I talked about at the beginning. The higher education, the vocational training. Do we have enough institutions that can train the people who are working, who don't have a certificate, how to assess? Do we have a guide that maps all the resources in the country? I don't even know who's responsible for the inclusion. And I tried today to look for it. Do we have a map of all the resources? Like, remember that we had, you're too young, you wouldn't remember. We had something called Yellow Pages. And the Yellow Pages would list all the institutions that they cover, they offer the services. So do we have these? Do we have a specific guide? In Canada, we did way back for early years, we did it for teachers. We did a guide to just, 10 things to notice for special needs for the teacher. She's not going to do anything, but she needs to record and then to support later on in order to include. So we need to map these. We need to find out what we have. We have a lot. We're doing a lot, but we're doing it over and over again.
In fact, thank you so much, Dr. Bushra, regarding the terminology, it has been launched as people determination. But for example, we have visited Sharjah University maybe 2 months ago, and they have a very, very successful project which has been awarded the last cycle regarding people of determination. And they have lots of policy strategies and techniques has to do with the project itself in Sharjah University. Maybe it's not the time now to discuss it with you, but most of you, what you have been highlighted.
Yeah, Dr. Jamila, just one thing, not only Sharjah University, they do have for example, that's why I'm saying we need to have an honest conversation and find out what we have. The Sharjah Humanitarian Services have just translated one of the best screening program for inclusion in early years. Yeah. Does anybody know anything about it? They've been there for 40 years. They have, I don't want to talk just about Sharjah. The authority is doing
even amazing. In Abu Dhabi, the policy is launched.
Amazing work that is being done.
Thank you so much. Maybe it has to. We have to allocate another session for what you have been raised, but mashallah, we have many best practices regarding people of determination at different levels, integration, education, give them opportunities, and as you said, policies and also benefits. And many things in the city has been designed to address their needs, whatever their needs are. Thank you so much, Dr. Cairo. According to the annual Global Innovation Index 2022, the UAE maintains its top position as the most innovative country in the Arab world. Also, worldwide, is in the 30th rank. And there are many steps and initiatives undertaken to encourage innovation in the UAE. Dr. Bushra just mentioned a few things. You have been also addressing many innovative practices for children and strategies. But again, how can we promote skills of innovation in all childhood stages, not for the teachers, not for the environment themselves? We have these skills, they should be promoted, because it's very important to utilize their potential to be aligned with the strategic vision of UAE.
Thank you, Dr. Jamila. Just one note on what Dr. Bushra was just saying, innovation is like, innovation can be a new digital tool, or it can just be developing something new that's useful that hasn't existed before. And one of the things that we work closely at ECA with ZHO and other really strong partners in Abu Dhabi was to put together exactly that, a digital guide for parents that would actually explain to them, what is developmental disorders? When do you need to get screening? What are the milestones? Where do you go if you need this kind of service or you need this kind of service? How do you contact them? What kind of benefits should you be receiving or not? So that they can actually go and get it either in print, we made it available in print, or online, so that when they go to a physician, they know what to ask a physician. Do you know how difficult it is for a parent to go to talk to a physician and they don't even know what questions to ask? It's like, how do I ask? Is my child normal? How do I ask? It's like, is there something wrong with them? You have to guide parents on even how to ask these kind of questions and feel comfortable in the presence of these authority figures sometimes. So I just think that innovation can be seen at multiple levels. I think one of the things that we're fortunate, in Abu Dhabi, and I think in the whole region, is we have really progressive minds. I mean, Her Excellency Senas Hale and His Excellency Thamel Qasimi, very much into the idea of be bold, try new things. We can make mistakes, but learn from them quickly and get up and do something new. So we do, in terms of innovation, the big innovation ideas we have a program that's called Angel Z, which we invest millions of dirham every year for startup companies to come and to pitch their ideas of what can they do. And we've supported apps, for early childhood learning. We've supported apps for parents and how to monitor their children. We've supported apps that look about how to track milestones, or even to look at children's eyes and are there any problems with their eye movements. So there's many each year. We go through this program and we select anywhere between 5 and 6. But what's interesting is the children are involved and their families. So there's actually a period of time when we bring them together and let them brainstorm and come up with ideas of what kind of innovations do we want in our lives. And they pitch their own ideas, which then form the basis of what we're looking for with our partners. So it is to get them involved in that, and that you are the users. And so you should know what you want and not become just a consumer. And that's really important in innovation, because the way innovation has sped now is that everyone wants the newest thing on the block, but they don't stop to think, well, is this of my benefit? I mean, is it really good that I can just dial and get fast food into my home? Whereas the government's been working for 10 years to stop people from eating fast food. We just opened up a faster way that they can get it into their homes without even having to leave home. So a lot of times these kind of innovations, we need to be stopped and say, do I need that? Do I not need that? Where do I put my emphasis? So in terms of innovation, we have those kind, and we also have things that we do internally. Like, for example, we have what we call data insight, which is like bringing all the different numbers, data from different agencies all together to be able to look on a dashboard to see, are there any relationships? Do we have different pockets in the country that have higher student absenteeism? Could the student absenteeism be linked to other reasons? For example, which populations may be more at risk of student absenteeism? Do we see higher risk use, drug use, or do we see higher low birth weights in certain areas? Is it linked to where they're located geographically, or is it located to economics? Is it located to mother's health? Is it located to domestic violence? So this kind of data insight, where you can actually now use all the modern tools to bring this data together and quickly analyze it and make correlations, if not a causal relation, allows you to use data more effectively. We also have innovations that's in terms of the kinds and ways of programs that we reach parents, right? So some of them, you'll be surprised, is that it is innovating for parents to actually come together as groups. People have worked in we talk about entities in silos, but people are silos. It's like, what do you mean I'm going to talk about mental health issues in a group? No. And it's actually been one of the ways that you can encourage people to come together and say, oh my gosh, it's not just me that's struggling with my kids. Oh, it's not just, and this is a practice that we are encouraging, is bringing people together, that bonding, that closeness. And after COVID and being stuck in our homes, this is innovation. So I think across the board, the innovation is trying to say, what can I do that's not only new, but that really has benefit and purpose? And that comes from listening to everyone and getting ideas. So even for the audience, I mean, we love to hear from everyone and go online and tell us what you think is needed to help us move forward.
Beautiful. And maybe it's very important to define innovation. It's not about just creating something from zero or from trash. No, it's just how do you solve issues or problems or situation in added value way or easier way or more time effective manner. For that, maybe to define innovation itself, it will be very useful to start with. Thank you so much, Dr. Cairo. This is Fatma. The family is the basic social institution that works on the upbringing and formation of children, where they learn patterns of life and values. Recently, this year, the year 2023, UAE announced that this year to be the year of sustainability. How can we fulfill the concept of sustainability as the way of life by including children, sustainable practices with all strategic partnership, and the most important strategic partnership is the family itself? Dr. Bushra, I will come back also to this question to you, if you have contributions.
Okay.
Thank you. Now, regarding sustainability practices, maybe with simple things, when they just wash their hands, or they use food, or they can plant in their houses, or they can use electricity, switch off the electricity, and such few and simple practices can make a difference in their life. Thank you. Mrs. Fatma? Hello?
Yes, dear. I think I have to highlight on the social and cultural background, and how do we treat these children in equity and equality. And maybe the sustainability part will go to the Dr. Bushra, I think.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Fatma.
Get ready.
Do you want to start with the sustainability first?
Okay, Dr. Bushra. How can we just let sustainability is just like a lifestyle for our children?
Okay.
In simple terms.
In
simple and have impact.
I think Dr. Jamila, you already said we need to define innovation. And I think the same thing, we need really to have a clear definition of sustainability. When we talk about sustainability, we cannot but connected and related to sustainable economy or circular economy that we're talking about. It's not about okay, it's done, it will stay that way. No, it has to be connected to sustainability, which means circular economy, not just growth, economic growth without any stop. And basically it has to do with the well-being, with the whole. See, early years is again, I say multi-sectoral, multi-level, multi-dimensional. That means you've got the health, the economy, the culture, the parents, all of these has to be all together, protection, all of these have to be together. And when we usually implement something, it has to go for all. When we look at our strategy, UAE strategy for early years is amazing. It is one of the best that defines exactly how you're going to reach sustainability, how you're going to do that. So everybody has to be involved. You have to really implement a holistic integrated approach, take a holistic, where all the partners in the economy, the health, the security, the business, the finance, the parenthood, the social services, the education are all together. And they have one together, they come across to really ensure effective policies, have honestly discussion, and then look at innovation. As you said, I'm very happy with what you said about innovation. It is not something new. It is actually solving a problem. It is having a solution. And it is very clearly said in the Khalifa Award, you know, to have a solution. I also want to say to Dr. Cairo that I'm an avid follower of all their programs. They are amazing. This is the kind of program, what I'm talking about, it needs to go for all the Emirates. What they are doing, they need to really scale up first on a national base. Come on, let's do it. Let's combine together and do it. Also, sustainability cannot be done only by the government. We have to really, really make sure that we have partnership with foundations, with cooperation, with philanthropic organization to secure funding and other resources. We need to come up to that 3% funding we're not spending, and that is only by the business sector that has to do. And also what Dr. Cairo, what Ms. Fatma said, we have to also look at create an online platform or repository, you know, establish an innovative lab or incubator that brings together educators, researchers, policymakers, and other stakeholders, and collaborate on developing and testing solutions, sustainable solutions that align directly to the Sustainable Development Goals.
Thank you so much for addressing.
I hope I did it well. I hope I explained it.
Thank you. Now, Mrs. Fatma, your turn to tell us about the social and cultural background. How does the UAE addresses all these children with these various cultural and social background with equity and equality in 2 minutes? Because we still have.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Jamila. As we all know, بلادنا بلد الأمن والأمان. So the UAE is one of the most diverse countries in the world. It has many nationalities. Everyone is living in harmony, peace, and tolerance. And recently, it has been awarded, as we all know, as one of the safest countries in the world and top destination for expatriates. It's very clear. The UAE has been able to put measures in place to ensure that every child, regardless of social, cultural backgrounds, to enjoy equal and equitable access to opportunities, then to allow them also to contribute positively to our society. A good example is the fact that every child has the right to the quality education, and there are a variety of options for parents to choose from across the UAE private sector of education, both nationals and international schools, and also to be able to cater for the varying needs of the child. The UAE Child's Protection legislation was Dima's law, as Dr. Bushra stressed on that, stresses that all children must be provided with appropriate living standards, access a health service, education, equal opportunities, and essential services and facilities without any kind of discrimination. The UAE government also supports variety initiatives that promote inclusion, as they stressed, and I don't want to go into detail about the importance of inclusion and how do we promote that to promote tolerance and bridge culture, the racial boundaries. Also, I would like to stress that UAE also have a strong inclusion program for the young determination, for providing them customized special education plans. No I don't want to go into the detail, but I want to emphasize on that the UAE continues to promote the health and well-being. Dr. Bushra stressed on the well-being, and I'm so glad to hear her background towards this matter. Our country prides itself in creating a balance with creating a work-life balance, upholding the importance of the family time, especially the opportunity that we have been recently given as moms working in the educational sectors, that being at work for 4.5 days per week means that the parents feel supported by spending more quality time with their children. I think these are critical also to the social and emotional development of the child, to have the moms spend more time with their kids and be attached with them.
Thank you so
much.
The
3 minutes are
well
over.
said. Well said. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank
Cairo.
you.
Let us go to the media and the news. Recently in the media, we have the news, the story of Sham, the Syrian child, and her brother Umar, who arrived in Abu Dhabi to receive the required medical treatment as a part of Her Highness Sheikha Fatma bint Mubarak, ربي يحفظها أم الشيوخ أم الإمارات, keen interest in ensuring healthcare for the seriously injured victims of the devastating earthquake in Syria and Turkey. What lessons are learned from this news? Like, what can you tell us from your own pure scientific perspective? What the impact of such humanitarian-based news would be on the world's children?
Yeah.
What do you think, even here in regionally or locally, if the children see such news, what impact would have them psychologically, emotionally, socially, and even looking to the future and to the risk they are facing worldwide?
Yeah, I think that these two children have been fortunate, and that the message I think that Her Highness Sheikha Fatma is sharing is that the idea of how important it is that we all care. We live in one world, and know that the suffering of a child that lives in the Emirates or outside the Emirates is not something that we will close our eyes to. And I think that that is a message of not just humanity, but it's also a message of that we need to support one another, that, you can't be suffering in one part of the world and turn your eyes to it. It's also a message of gratitude. It's also a message of gratitude. And I think that it's not just at the level of leadership, it's also to the whole population. I mean, one of the things is we see the generosity of people who donate funds and donate goods to good causes, within the UAE and beyond. These are things that we need to continue to nurture. I think also, personally, I believe that the UAE is taking the lead in actually showing what the Arab world can do for people, where we've had a very bad image, I think, frequently of that, we are always the recipients. I think that now they're showing that we can give, we do give and we do share. And they're being much more open and they're much more caring than what we see of other countries across the world. And so I think that this is a message that resonates with all of us here, this idea of caring, of nurturing, and humanity.
Thank you. In 30 seconds, what would you say to our children in the Emirati Child's Day? Dr. Bushra, then I come back to you, Mrs. Fatma, then I get back to you, Dr. Bushra, Dr. Cairo. Yes, what would you say in 30 seconds?
I think in 30 seconds,
yeah,
I can't
only.
much
It's
anyway.
a challenge for you, I know.
I think the Emirati child are very, very lucky because the Emirates today, United Arab Emirates, there are three, is in the phase of learning for well-being. See, most of the countries are in learning for earning.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
UAE is for learning for well-being.
Well said. Mrs. Fatma, what would you say to the children and in this special day?
Yeah, I would like to tell our children that move forward, be innovative and creative. You are the future leaders.
when leaders are you, they will be, certainly. Thank you. Yes, Dr. Cairo.
Tell them, feel, think, and do. I think that it's really important that they get in contact with their own feelings and think about those ideas and what can they do for themselves and for others to make this whole world a better place, starting at home and beyond.
Thank you so much. To conclude with, I would like to express my sincere thanks and appreciations to our honored guests for their rich, valuable contributions to tonight's session. And lots of thanks to the organizers. And we wish our children and their families all the best and to have a healthy life with sustained well-being today and every day. Looking forward to meeting you soon in another virtual meeting at the Khalifa International Award platform. Thank you very much, and good evening and goodbye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well
Thank
said,
you.
well done. Thank you. That's one.